You dressed like a new chapter without a page for me. The way you moved told stories I wasn't part of. Your confidence wore me down like slow rain. You stole the spotlight and left me in shadows. I was the past. You dressed for the future. You were a storm I didn't know I couldn't survive. That dress was a goodbye, written without words. You looked radiant, like a light I could no longer reach. I saw the distance in your eyes before your outfit. You dressed for temptation. I dressed for forgiveness. The silence between us grew louder in that dress. You were an enigma wrapped in silk and secrets. You wore your freedom, but left my heart chained. That look wasn't for me. It was for someone else's dreams. Your body language spoke betrayal, dressed in elegance. You moved with grace, but left me ungraced. That outfit carried a message I wasn't ready to read. You dressed like a queen without a crown for me. I watched you transform and mourned what I lost. You wore strength that shattered my fragile hope. That night, you were a stranger in our home. You dressed like a promise broken softly. I held on to memories while you wore new beginnings. Your beauty became a weapon that cut deeper than words. You dressed like you didn't care, and it showed. I was blinded by love. You dazzled with distance. That dress was your armor and my defeat. You danced with freedom while I wept in silence. You wore your soul on your sleeve, and it wasn't mine. I was the ghost you dressed to forget. You looked alive. I felt dead inside. Your smile hid the truth beneath that dress. You dressed like a wildfire, beautiful and untouchable. I loved a shadow that faded with every outfit change. That dress told secrets you never said aloud. You dressed like a song I could no longer sing. Your elegance masked the pain you caused. I fell for a version of you that no longer exists. You dressed to impress them, not to love me. That outfit was a silent scream I couldn't hear. You wore confidence that crushed my fragile heart. You dressed like the future I feared losing. I wanted you to stay. You dressed to leave. Your beauty was a riddle I couldn't solve. You dressed like a lesson I never wanted to learn. I lost you between the buttons and seams. That dress was a veil hiding your goodbye. You dressed like a fire I couldn't put out. I was drowning while you floated free. You wore your independence like a challenge. That night, your outfit spoke louder than words ever could. You dressed like temptation. I crumbled like weakness. I loved a version of you that stopped showing up. You wrapped yourself in silence and silk. Your eyes told me you dressed for someone else's gaze. That dress was a door I couldn't open. You dressed like a dream that turned into a nightmare. I was lost in the folds of your new self. You dressed to hide the cracks in your heart. That outfit was a goodbye dressed as hello. You looked like freedom. I felt like a prisoner. You dressed like a song that ended too soon. I was a shadow you tried to outrun. Your beauty was a curse I couldn't break. You dressed like a secret you weren't ready to share. I lost myself in the echo of your footsteps. That dress spoke of distance I couldn't cross. You dressed for a world I wasn't invited to. I was invisible next to your radiance. You dressed like a story I was no longer part of. That night, your outfit was my silent heartbreak. You dressed to erase the love I gave. I watched you become a stranger dressed in elegance. You wore your pain like a crown. That dress was a mirror showing who you became. You dressed like a promise you never intended to keep. I was a page you tore out without a word. Your body told stories I couldn't understand. You dressed for someone who wasn't me. I was a ghost you dressed to forget. That night, your outfit spoke betrayal in silence. You dressed like a song I couldn't sing anymore. I lost you between fabric and silence. Your elegance hid the cracks beneath. You dressed like freedom and left me in chains. That dress was your goodbye, dressed as hello. You wore your distance like a shield. I was invisible in your new world. You dressed like a stranger in our bed. That night, you dressed like the end of us. My dear, you dressed like a stranger tonight, and I felt like one too. You wore their taste on your skin and expected me not to bleed. I watched your body betray our memories wrapped in someone else's idea of you. Your outfit screamed freedom, but it whispered, I'm not yours anymore. You looked stunning, like someone I used to know. You weren't just dressed different. You were aiming to be seen by someone else. I wanted to praise you, not compete with your reflection. That dress turned your body into a goodbye I wasn't ready for. I didn't lose you to a person, but to a mirror. You wore revenge like perfume, beautiful, cruel, unforgettable. Tonight, you didn't dress up, you dressed me down. You knew what that dress would do to me, and you wore it anyway. I saw desire in your silhouette, but it wasn't mine anymore. You turned your skin into a battlefield and called it fashion. That wasn't just fabric, it was a silent war declaration. My pride cracked between the hemline and your smile. You dressed like closure, but I wasn't ready to close us. You didn't dress to impress, you dress to provoke. I wanted to protect you, not question if you still wanted me. I felt invisible, standing beside the version of you you dressed for. I couldn't tell if I was jealous of them or of who you became. Your body became art, but I wasn't invited to the exhibit. You looked like a sin, and I prayed not to lose you. Every thread felt like a dagger in my ego. You walked out like a masterpiece and left me feeling unfinished. I never imagined feeling replaced by a dress. I smiled through pride's funeral. You weaponized your beauty, and I was the first casualty. That outfit wasn't for me. It was for whoever I feared most. You dress like a door slamming shut. Even your silence had a wardrobe tonight. You walked in like thunder. I stayed silent like rain. I didn't know a zipper could unzip my sense of worth. You weren't dressing to attract. You were dressing to detach. You didn't change clothes. You changed power. I saw your neckline and lost my balance. You wore boldness. I wore shame. I used to undress you with love. Now the world does it with eyes. You were glowing, but I was dimming. That look didn't say, love me. It said, remember what you lost. You wore someone else's fantasy and murdered mine. You looked like freedom. I looked like fear. That dress spoke louder than any of your goodbyes. I wasn't ready for the kind of beauty that didn't need me. You gave your body to confidence and my heart to confusion. I didn't lose to another man. I lost to your mirror. That outfit was a poem, but I was never the reader. You didn't break my heart. You outgrew it. You weren't dressing for me. You were dressing for the version of you I feared. You didn't just change your look. You changed your loyalty. Your beauty didn't betray me. Your intention did. That hemline buried our history. You dressed like pain wrapped in satin. Your elegance erased my relevance. You didn't dress like my partner. You dressed like my punishment. I was proud of you until pride killed me. You put on the kind of confidence I couldn't compete with. You wore their gaze better than you wore my trust. Tonight, you weren't mine. You were theirs in high definition. You wore the kind of hurt I had no armor for. That dress looked like freedom, but cost me peace. You didn't break a rule. You shattered an understanding. You dressed like temptation and left me with the consequences. The dress was tight, but your loyalty felt looser. I never imagined watching you leave before you walked away. I didn't know a look could look like betrayal. You weren't just stunning, you were calculated. You wore mystery, but I knew it meant trouble. You didn't glow, you burned me alive. I wanted to compliment you, Instead, I buried my pride. You dressed up, I shut down. The fabric wasn't expensive, but it cost me everything. I admired you, but I didn't feel invited. That dress flattered your figure and flattened my confidence. You made silence look seductive. You were breathtaking, and I couldn't catch mine. Your reflection smiled. My soul didn't. I didn't recognize the woman I fell for in the woman you became. That wasn't you. That was power walking in heels. If this touched your soul, don't scroll. Like, comment your favorite quote and subscribe for more. That outfit wasn't scandalous. It was surgical. You dressed to be seen, not loved. You walked in like art, and I felt erased. My love couldn't handle your glow up. You didn't change your clothes. You changed your intentions. I wasn't prepared for you to outshine what we had. You wore pride. I wore pain. Tonight, you made beauty look dangerous. You dressed like healing, but I was the wound. You knew how I'd feel. That's what hurt most. That look didn't seduce me, it separated us. I felt like a ghost beside your glamour.